Okay, so today we are on November 17th, and you'll notice that it's our first day to start the Machinist Vise. And this is a project that I want you guys to do. This is really like, this is not in our tutorial book. This is outside of our tutorial book. It's an assembly that I found in a different resource that I have, but I thought it would be a great project that isn't like too complicated, but it's bringing together pretty much all the stuff that we've learned to this point in a way that, you get to, do the whole thing, if you would, yourself, okay? So I'm going to introduce that to you, give you what you need to get started on that, and then we'll continue to work on this for probably the next 2 weeks or so. We are going to be ending the semester with an independent project as well, and I'll kind of get those details ironed out for you, but it's going to be something that you'll be able to interact with the 3D printer or the laser printer that we have in our lab, because we've done a lot of work now in Creo, and I want you guys to be able to use some of these models or create something of your own design and be able to print it out and have it for yourself. Okay, so let's take a look at our Machinist Vise. Okay, Machinist Vise. Before we do, I guess I do want to remind you the due date for the chapter 12 problems. Okay, the second assignment in chapter 12. Those are due tomorrow at 11:59. I've been doing some lectures for you guys, so if we go to learning plan for chapter 12, you'll notice that the lecture videos here, there was the tutorials, and then those were the first two here, and then the last two are videos on the demos of the 5 problems that you have assigned at the end of chapter 12, okay? Also make sure that you use the tutorial and problem guides here. So each one of those problems, the 5 problems that you have here, each one of them has a drawing guide. This is what you're getting graded on, okay? If you have all of these elements in place, okay, all of these elements in place, then you will get all the points. But if you don't have, for instance, the right decimal places, if it's 2 and it's supposed to be 3, if there's supposed to be a limits identified and you don't have those done, or if the GD&T isn't on there correctly, like I said, this is what you want to mimic. Now, does it mean you have to have perfect placement? As I've said, no, you don't need to have perfect placement, but it needs to be there using the rules that you know are the standard. So if you're unsure, then copy what I have and make sure that it's exactly like it, because then you are assured. But if you want to move things around a little bit and make it your own, as long as the rules are followed and the information is here, then you're okay to do that. Okay, so use these drawing guides. That's what I'm grading you against. So if there's something circled and I don't have a note next to it, you're like, well, what's wrong with that? Look at the drawing guide, and when you match those 2 up, you're probably going to see a difference there, and that may be, if you've already handed stuff in, where you lost some points. Okay, so make sure that you're using these guides. They're out there for you to make sure that you are getting a good drawing created to the standards. Any questions at all right now on the chapter 12, homework, when it's due, what to do, how to hand that in? Oh, I also want to remind you, when you do the drawings, okay, when you do the drawings and you hand them in the Dropbox here, you need to do them in the PDF format that you want to take the screenshot when you do a print preview, okay? Do not do a screenshot of where you're creating the print, because that has like that gray background, it has the snap lines, there are some other things that are kind of interfering there. I want to see like the actual drawing in its final form, and that's going to be by going to print and then print preview, and then taking your snapshot there. You don't need the full screen then, you just need to go around the border, and really what you're creating then is going to be the a duplication of the drawing guide that I created for you. So if you have any questions about that, let me know, but I'm not accepting anymore it in any other format. You need to do it in the way that I show you for each one of those the demos. Okay, I do show you in there exactly how to do it. So if you're not watching the full videos, or you're skipping things, or you're not watching the videos at all, then you're not getting the information and you're not going to get all the points. Okay, so be sure that you're doing that work. So let's look at our Machinist Vise project. That's our next folder here under Chapter 12. So the things that are in here, I actually have printed out underneath my document camera. So I want to, I'll go here, but these are all in PDF, or there's one Excel spreadsheet. These two are actually the same file, but one is a planning sheet that's in PDF form that I printed out, and then there's one that's in Excel. So if you wanted to input your values in the Excel format, you can. And then there's a folder here for what we call the first draft drawing guides. Okay, first draft drawing guides. These drawing guides, okay, are here so that when you make the drawing of each one of these parts, okay, you know what you have to create, okay? You know what the final product should look like. So again, using this information. Now this is first draft, so we'll talk about that in a little bit, but that is what that folder is. So I'm gonna go underneath my document camera and kind of look at each one of the elements that we have here. So this is the project we're going to be looking at. This is a Machinist Vise, and the assembled 3D view is right here, okay, right here. And then all of the individual pieces are identified down in this pictorial, okay? Now, the guides that I created for you, okay, the guides that I created for you are the PDF versions of each one of those drawings. Now, I call these first drafts because it does not take into account any of the limits or the fits that are called out in this packet, okay? Part of what we're going to be doing is checking those. So the first thing that I want you to do is to create the models, okay? Create the models. And you can create the models by using the information here and here, all right? So for instance, on the base, okay, on the base, most all the dimensions are like one value, or we'll call it nominal value. But if we look here, you'll notice that there are some limit dimensions, you know, called out in different places, okay? What I want you to do is just draw it nominal for right now. So for instance, find the middle value for these, okay? And then we will apply the tolerance after we check the fit. That's part of what we're going to do in our process here. Okay, that's part of what we're going to do. So in the initial model, just draw to the nominals. Just draw to the nominals, okay? And you don't have to create the drawings yet, but we do need to do a little bit of planning here. And that's what I wanted to look at today. So each one of these parts, you know, in the assembly is going to have a name, and they're given names. So for instance, if we go up here, part number 1 up there is called the base. It's made out of cast iron, and there's one required, okay? There's one required. Part number 2 is down here. This is the sliding jaw. Now, these two views right here are of the same part, and this is looking at that face of the sliding jaw. Not in projection, but it's the face of the sliding jaw, okay? And here are the details here. Now, you're gonna have to look closely when you print yours out or you look at it online as the PDF. There are some limit dimensions in here as well. And again, you're gonna be drawing to the nominals, making your model to the nominals, okay? Part number 3 on this assembly is the jaw plate, okay? And that's going to be this part right here, that part right there. Part number 4 is the vise screw. Part number 5 is the collar. Number 6, special screw. Number 7, this is the rod handle, that's this guy right here. Number 8 is the handle ball, and those are going to be on either end here. There's 2 of those required. Number 9 is the slide screw. There's 2 of those. Those are going to hold the sliding jaw in place. And then number 10 is the set screw. 1 through 10 are all custom manufactured parts that will require details, okay? 1 through 10 are all custom manufactured parts that are going to require details. So you're going to create those models, and we're going to get to the part where we create details. And that's what these first draft drawing guides are. Now again, these drawing guides are to the nominal values, okay? In some cases, I took a middle value. In some cases, I may have taken the closest basic size, okay? Or I might have taken the smallest or the largest value. So just kind of depending, okay? Just kind of depending. But you are going to create your models for these first 10. That's where I want you to start, okay? That's where I want you to start, because now that you've gotten your knowledge, if you would, of Creo and how to create models, you know, through the exercises that we've done, now you're going to create, and that's where I want you to start, create those models. But before we get started, we got to kind of think ahead a little bit, and we got to think in terms of bill of material later on. So what I wanted to make sure that we did is, as we go through this, this is what we call our bill of material and assembly drawing planning sheet. This is one of the items in that folder, okay, for the files that are there. This is in both a PDF format, that's what I created, that's what I printed off here, but there's also an Excel format of this, and so you can actually fill this in by pulling up that file in Excel, and if you want it in a really nice form, you can do that, or you can print it off and fill it out like I have here. Now, as we are creating our files and we're creating our models, what we want to do is we want to make sure that as our when we got to think ahead of how we're going to create the drawing. And if you recall, the common name, which is not the file name, the common name is going to be the part number. Okay, so when we create our assembly, we're going to have a file, like a part number in there, right? Where we have to fill it in the title block. We're not just going to put a number 1 or a 2 or a 3. We're not doing that, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to give it a 6-digit number, okay? A 6-digit number. And that is going to be what we fill in for the common name when we create the model, okay? So that when we create the detailed drawing, it fills it in the title block for us, but it'll also fill it into our bill of material when we do our assembly drawing, okay? So that is the place that we want to put that. So common name is going to be the part number, okay? The file name then is going to be the part description. Now the file name is going to match exactly what each one of these is called, okay? So the base, the sliding, jaw, the vise screw, all that kind of stuff, okay? Now we're also going to put this in the same order. They already assigned, if you would, they already assigned their balloons to it, which are going to correspond to our item number in our bill of material as well as on our planning sheet here. So we might as well just use their convention. That way we all are kind of doing this in the same format, and it's easier to communicate. So first and foremost, assembly number. This is going to be the assembly drawing number. And like I said, 6 digits, okay? So it needs to be 6 digits. So we're going to have, for instance, 3 digits and 3 digits. Now, not a space, but the first 3 digits, okay? So those first 3 digits are going to be the first 3 numbers or digits of all of the parts that are custom in our assembly. So any one of these 1 through 10s, the first 3 digits are going to be the same for all of them. It kind of sets them up into their own family or project, okay? And then, so these are going to all be the same. Then these 3 are going to be different. And they are going to be for, each one of the custom values here. So for instance, okay, let's say we would have the first 3 digits be 346. And what 346 means to us is maybe it corresponds to a certain customer that we might have. So if we, for instance, are making this part or this assembly for John Deere, okay? And John Deere in our company may be like, oh, all of their projects are 346. And then when we see the 346, we know, oh, that's a John Deere part number that we're making for John Deere. Or it might be something else, all right? So I'm just going to use 346 for example, okay? The last 3 digits then are going to differentiate it, okay? So each one of our individual part numbers, so down here, for instance, could be like a 001, then a 002, then a 003. And our assembly number, the overall assembly number, would be 000, okay? So assembly, and then these would be the parts, okay? So we are not just going to put a random number in the title block anymore. I want you to think in terms of part number, what makes sense. And a 1-digit part number doesn't make sense. A 2-digit part number, we're not going to see that on industry. Typically, they're going to be 5, 6, 10, depending on the company and how they do their part numbering system. This will be specific to that company. So I want us to kind of start to look more official in terms of how you would do this. Because when we're in design problems next semester and we're creating assembly drawings, I am not going to let you just call this, oh, this is drawing number 1. No. Okay, that's like basic CAD stuff. All right, we are going to now move into being more intentional about things that we're going to be doing and calling out. Okay, so Jonah and Luke, you are my customers here. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. Jonah and Luke, I'm going to look in the chat box here. What are our three numbers we're going to use for the first 3 digits of our 6-digit part number? What do you want to use for what we'll call our series? We don't need to use 3, 4, 6. We can use whatever you guys choose. You get to put it in the chat box here. 318. Okay, 318. 318 it is, and that's what we're all going to use for our drawing series here, our part numbering series. So let me share my screen again. Okay, so what that means is up in the corner here, our assembly number is going to be 318000. Okay, and our assembly name is going to be the Machinist Vise. Okay, Machinist Vise. The date, we can put the date here, 11/17/21, and drawn by, we're going to use our initials. Remember, we're using initials because that's like official. If we put our full name in there, they're going to know that we're new to the business. Okay, we're going to be like experts. We know we're supposed to put our initials, or sometimes you might put your first initial and then your last name or something like that. All right, but you don't write out your full name in the title block. Initials. Now we're going to do our item numbers. So these are going to be our custom parts listed first. And we know that there are 10 item numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Our part number is going to be our 6-digit part number. So I'm just going to do our 318001, 318002. And then I'm just going to kind of 003, 4, and then repeat the 318, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so we have 10 custom parts here, 10 custom parts. Now we're going to use our assembly here to put the description then in the middle here. So this is going to be the base. We need one of those, and our material is cast iron, okay, CI. Then what we're going to do is number 2 was that sliding jaw. There's 1 required and cast iron. And we're going to do this for each one of our parts. Cast iron. Number 3 was the jaw plate. This is made out of SAE 3140, and there's 2 required. Now that's a steel. So jaw plate. There's 2 required. SAE 3140. Now that's going to go in our title block for each one of the detailed drawings. Okay, so it won't be part of our bill of material, but it will be on our detailed drawing. So that's why I'm filling it in here, so that you have a place where all this information is. So number 4 then, number 4 is going to be our vise screw, SAE 3140. There's 1 of those required. Okay. So again, you're filling this out by hand. If you know that your penmanship isn't great, because I need to be able to read this. If it's not great, then do the Excel spreadsheet and then just submit that, because you will be submitting this as part of the project, okay? So number five is the collar. It's down here in the corner. Okay, collar, SAE 1020, one required. Number 6 is the special key up in the corner here. Special key, SAE 1020, and that's a steel. And we'll talk about as we kind of get this together, or as we work through this assembly, we'll talk about where each one of the parts go. But you know, what I want you to do is kind of look this over and see if you can kind of figure out some of these inside parts that we may not see specifically here. Okay, you'll notice that they don't call it a number 6 here because it's not seen. It's actually in the inside here. Okay, so if you can kind of figure out how you think that's going to go together, but I'll explain it as we go along. Number 7 is the handle rod. That's this guy right here. So it's this vertical, okay? We're going to use the same descriptions that they do. So we're not going to shortcut this. And that's a cold roll steel, CRS. Okay. Number 8 is our handle ball. There's 2 of those required. SAE 1020. Okay. Number 9 is the slide key. It's right here. Okay. That's also going to be kind of inside integral. Number 9 is slide key. We need 2 of those, and it's SAE 1020. And then number 10 is our set screw. We need 2 of these guys. Two of those, and that's SAE 1016. Okay. So that's the material, the quantity, the part description, the part number, and the item number, okay? Using our series of 318 as our first digits for each one of these. So every single one of these parts has a 6-digit part number, and then it has the, the custom part number in sequential order here, matching the item number. Okay, purchased parts. Purchased parts are going to be parts that we literally buy and we just incorporate here. Now, in this case, we do have a couple parts that we're not going to specifically make, okay? And they are as follows, okay? We've got a number 11, and these are, okay, 1/4 inch flathead machine screws. We need 4 of those. We need 2 for one plate, which is going to go on this face of the base, and then we need another for the other plate that's going to go on this face of the sliding jaw. So we need 4 1/4 flathead machine screws, okay? So the quantity here is going to be 4, but we're going to go down in hardware, not purchased parts, okay? We're hardware. Hardware is different than purchased parts because hardware is something that we typically get in and a company will stock like a large quantity of them. So fasteners, keys, washers, nuts, bolts, okay? Purchase parts are where we're gonna purchase like a ball bearing, and we're only gonna get like 2 of those, okay? And we're not gonna necessarily have a bulk quantity of them available for maybe other things, okay? So we actually don't have any purchase parts on this assembly, but we do have a couple of pieces of hardware. So number 11 here, part number, we're gonna leave that open for right now because we are we'll talk about how we'll handle this as we put these together. But for right now, we're going to keep the hardware kind of by itself. We're going to leave that open, and then our part description is going to be what do they have there? A 1/4 inch 0.25 flathead machine screw. So it's going to be 1/4 dash, and we're going to do 20 flat head, and we're going to do a cap screw, not a machine screw. Okay, all right, and we will figure out the length once we put our assembly together. And so this is going to be on the same line here and we're going to put a space here, LG, and we will determine that length once we get into the assembly portion, okay? But we need to just account for it here. And then number 12 is going to be, we are going to have 2 of these number 000 taper pins, okay? 000 taper pin. We need 1 for each one of the balls. There's 2 balls on either end of our handle here, okay? So we need 2 is our quantity. Part number, again, we will fill in at a later date, okay? And we are going to do a number 000 taper pin, okay? 000 taper pin, and that's all we need to put for that, okay? So yes, they are purchased, but they're considered hardware, because again, we probably will have these in bulk-ish quantity on hand in our facility, okay? So those are listed last. Now, this is our planning sheet. This is going to be something that you will be scanning and handing in. So I'm going to have a Dropbox for the planning sheet. You need to do this. You need to do this. So you can either follow along here, or like I said, if you're missing anything or if it's not filled out correctly, points will be lost. This is what you need. You can do this by hand, scan it and upload it, or you can put all this information in the Excel spreadsheet that's there of the very same sheet. So bill of material and assembly planning sheet PDF version, bill of material and planning sheet Excel version. Okay, if you want it to look really nice, use the Excel version and then just duplicate what I have here. Okay. All right. Now, once you have your planning sheet done, okay, keep that, and then I'm going to add a Dropbox for it. You can start creating the parts, okay, creating the parts. So, I mean, probably the best place to start here is going to be, let's create the base, okay, then let's start looking at the, the sliding jaw, or if you wanted to start by starting with the kind of the smaller, easier things, we're going to have 10 detailed drawings, 10 detailed drawings. That means 10 models, okay? So wherever you start on here with one of these 10 parts, that's up to you. But by the time we're done, all 10 are going to be created, and then we're going to create our assembly so that by the time we're done with this project, we will have a full set of working drawings, details with all of the appropriate tolerances and fits, and we're going to add some GD&T here as we go through. And then we're going to have an assembly drawing that's going to be fully ballooned, and it's going to be, usable so that we can give it to somebody to actually make. Okay. All right. So that's the project. I just wanted to introduce it today and let you get started, because I know there's some people that are already done with the Chapter 12 detail drawings, and so are ready to maybe move on to, getting this project started. Priority number 1, Chapter 12. Problems, okay? Those are due tomorrow by 11:59. But once you're ready to start moving on, here's your start to our next project, okay? Now, as we move through, starting on Thursday, we'll start looking at each one of these individually and making sure that we have what we need for model-wise and then also detailed drawing-wise, okay? All right. That's all I got for today. So hopefully, like I said, there are some that are ready to get started on the final project here, or the machinist Vise project, and there are others who still need to finish up. So don't forget to first finish, make sure that your Chapter 12 problems are in, and then once those are in, you can start working on this awesome project, okay? And that's what we're going to be doing probably for the next, I'm going to say about 2 weeks, okay? And then after that, our last week, we're going to have kind of a fun week where you're going to be able to create your own design, and then we're going to work with getting it made in our fab lab on one of the 3D printers and or the laser cutter. Okay. So that's something to look forward to. I'll start putting out the requirements for that, or things for you to think about for that final project, and what you can and can't do, and what the size can or can't be, so that you know what, kind of what are the kind of the envelope of constraints that you have. Okay. So, so that's it. That's all that I have for you today. If you have any questions as you're working on the Chapter 12 stuff, don't hesitate to reach out. But otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. Let me know how I can help. Luke and Jonah, do you have any questions? Nope. Okay, cool. All right, have a great rest of the day.